Hey guys, be sure to check out the Mortar Pod, our weekly video podcast, and also check out the tutorial video for my board game, Travelers of Storia. Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here, and we're doing another M15 Swiss Draft. Rare, Mass Calcify. Not playing that. I think we're just taking the Covenant of Blood. Willforged Golem also in here, which is decent. Keeps us open if we pick that. Encrust. Decent blue removal. Midnight Guard's good with Convoke. It's also a 2-3. Wayfinder, good with Unmake the Graves and Restock under Growth Scavenger or whatever. Pretty obvious Covenant of Blood, I think. Good removal. Good Convoke spell. Good finisher. Follow-up pick. Gravedigger's pretty good. Tough to deny that value. There's also Borderland Marauder, which is a nice cheap dude in here. Krinko's Enforcer, evasive. Very nice. I like the Path Mage. I like Quickling. I'm cool with Gravedigger here. I like it. Good value. Alright, follow-up pick. Stay on black with Zathrid Slyblade. I think I'm okay with that. There's also Living Totem in here, which is fine. And Selfless Cathar, which I like. Urborg. I just saw Conley Woods deck that was pretty cool with this and like Cryptghast or something. It looked fun. Check out Cons of Tarkir Mortar Pod number 92, our latest episode. We talk about spoilers, and we need your help for a new segment we're doing on the podcast, so tune in to that at the link at the beginning of the video. All right, let's take the Slyblade. I like this card a lot. Black Hexproof. It's not even supposed to be on them, man. I like the Frenzied Goblin. I like Hump the Weak. I like Netcaster Spider. Shadowcloak Vamp. Well, I lost to it, so maybe I should like it. We could stay purely on black and take the Vamp, but I'm thinking more in line with Frenzied Goblin to be able to go black-red aggressive. Hump the Weak to go black-green value, maybe. Because in the self-mill, you also get rewarded with Gravedigger. Netcaster Spider blocks the world. Fourth pick, possibly a sign that green's open a little bit. Green-black's not my fave, but it's not bad either. At this point, I've probably done every color combination, so just sort of got to pick. I guess we'll take we're in black, actually. The reason I took that over the Hunt the Weak is if you're in black, you should have access to a lot of removal. So for that reason, I would say take the better creatures. Child of Night, probably an easy pick here. You know, someone played that, if you watched the last video, this card's actually not that bad. If one of your guys is going to die anyway, you could just sack it and get another creature in response to that. That's actually pretty decent, in my opinion. So I think this card, I probably have been underrating it. This is not that bad of an ability. I think we're just taking Child of Night. Really solid pickup here. Nice cheap creature. Ooh. Well, that's a late Merc Lurker. That's probably motivation enough for me to start moving blue-black again. Because I love this guy. That guy is good. Selfless Cathar, it's also fairly late and good. Void Snare's fine, but yeah. Gotta take that dual dude. He's just too good. Alright, so Black Cat, Void Snare, Darksteel Citadel, Research Assistant, Shadowcloak Vamp, plenty of on-color stuff, so I guess that's the good news. I do like Void Snare. I think a lot of people say this card's not that good, but I still like it. Auras are pretty popular in this format. Token creatures still exist. It's probably best in a tempo deck. I could just take the Shadowcloak Vamp, so I have one as like a finisher. But if I'm in blue, I guess it's pretty good with Merc Lurker. I'll take the Vamp, I guess. I don't have any finishers yet, so I could take it. Let's see. Nothing too crazy here. Titanic Growth in green. Otherwise, I was going to take an Ornithopter in case I got in Soul Artifact, but I think I'd rather just take the Titanic Growth in case blue's not open. It could be just blue-black's not open, which is why the Murklurker went so late, but blue may be still getting cut. So let's keep our secondary color options a little bit more open. All right, Soft Shade's fine. Not an incredible card by any means, but can definitely be a finisher if you don't have a ton of them. Scavenger, yeah. I mean, black-green's the place to run it. Ranger's Guile, I do like that card. We can take the Eternal Thirst, I guess. It's probably pretty good on a Shadow Cloak Vamp, or even a Slyblade. Cuts black for us. Alright, that's a late Void Snare. We'll take that. It's pretty good. Negate. It's a nice card, too. Alright, getting some late blue stuff. That's pretty cool. I guess we'll take the Crasher. Fugitive Wizard. Had someone play it against me. More playable than it looks. That's for sure. I guess I would prefer to go the blue route because you get to run cards like Murklurker. And black-blue is pretty good. So presumably if we're black-blue, we're not a beatdown deck. We're just trying to be as much value as possible. So we can main deck the Negate. Can definitely get that Covenant of Blood, but we need some more removal in here. Zoff Shade's probably a little less exciting in sort of a slow blue-black thing. Probably, I don't know where he would be best. Maybe, I was going to say black-red as a finisher, but they probably don't have the resources to devote to him. So maybe black-blue is the place for him, but he's just all-around clunky, you know. Ooh, well, got to take those tickets. Otherwise, I would probably take Maggot. Black Cat's in here, Research Assistant, Void Snare. We're actually not passing anything too crazy, so Pyromaster is pretty easy. Free 3.5, 4 tickets, whatever the hell she's worth. Wow, Dauntless River Marshal's good. Let's see here. Coral Barrier, yeah. I never get a chance to play this card, so I finally want to. It spits out 2 guys, buys you time. It always plays well against me, so it really does hinder the aggressive decks. So I think it's a pretty easy pickup here, the Coral Barrier. Willforged Golem's fine as well. Dissipate's actually pretty good too. I like it a lot more than Statute of Denial. Well, let's take the Coral Barrier. I wanted to play that card for a while. Coral Barrier number 2, Typhoid Rats. Endless Obedience. Doesn't exactly interact well with the Gravedigger. It is a cool card, though, because you pull it from any graveyard. I mean, I kind of like Endless Obedience. I do. I like the Typhoid Rats because it's cheap. But I think, wait, let's take Coral Barrier number 2. These guys are good. They just come down, get you to your late game. I mean, yeah, we need some more finishers, but currently we have Vamp and Zoff Shade as our finishers, so Murklurker to a certain extent. Yeah, Barrier seems fine to me. It's not going to be very good against the flyer decks, but you do get a island walk dude, so it's nice that you can, you know, sneak in for some attacks. So far, I think we're on an okay path. Probably would prefer to not main deck the Fugitive Wizard. Probably prefer to not main deck the Eternal Thirst. So, same with Glacial Crasher, presumably. So we are looking for some nicer finishers, but I'm kind of glad I got the Vamp because currently we're a little bit short on dudes at the top end. Or dudes at the bottom end, for that matter. We're just kind of got dudes for the middle. Alright, Llanowar Waste is a couple tickets, but Witch's Familiar buys more time. Infant Pathmage is actually a very good way to finish people off. It can be clunky. I think that's the main issue with Pathmage is like you pay your 4 mana. If you've got a stalled board state, there's like nothing better than a Pathmage. If you're like behind, he can be an issue. He can be too slow. But black, green, blue too. I guess that would be kind of weird. Bug. Get the fixing for it. Because I've got the Netcaster and Titanic Growth. Those aren't worth a splash, I don't think. We can just take the Pathmage. That seems fine. Or I can pick up a ticket, but we'll take the Path Mage. He actually looks like he's pretty useful for this deck. I'd prefer to play him over the Zoff Shade, so I think we got a good game plan going. We've got a few too many guys that require resources to use their abilities. You know what I mean? We've got like 4 dudes that need you to dedicate resources to like get their value. So that's a bit of an issue, but hopefully we can cut out the shade, and if we can do that, I think we'll be okay. Okay, pretty easy Covenant of Blood. Number 2 pickup. Inferno Fist pretty late in here. Another Path Mage, another Negate. Assistant would be fine with the Gravedigger. But yeah, let's take Covenant. Keep that removal coming. I love this card. So I guess we need a little bit more low end. Actually, Coral Barrier is just brilliant with Covenant of Blood. Get 2 more Convoke guys for it, for all your Convoke spells. That is probably why this card is so good in the format. Not just that it buys you time. Well, there's another one. It's also Unmake the Graves. Geez, it's a late Hoarding Dragon, but there's actually stuff we can play in here. Unmake the Graves doesn't exactly, it does pretty much the same thing Gravedigger does. We don't really have any self-mill for it. So let's take the 3rd Coral Barrier. Then maybe if we can go like 5 deep on Covenant of Blood, like I did that one time. Now this deck needs like a Blue Paragon. Make all those little 1/1s we're spitting out, 2/2s, get some 2/4 blockers. Alright, admittedly, short on finishers in here, but we're in a very good position to get to a late game with triple Coral Barrier. That's like crazy. That is crazy. Okay, not much in here, surprisingly. I could take the 2nd Glacial Crasher. I know I'm not main decking the 1st. My thought is I can possibly find an Evolving Wilds and then maybe run 1 Mountain so I can turn them on myself. And then I've got some 5/5 Trampler in games. It's not a terrible idea, because if I run low on finishers, these guys will be excellent finishers, I think. Otherwise, I'm taking Mind Rot, which is fine, but I feel like I never sideboard into it. So I'm going to take the Glacial Crasher for sideboard for now. Possibly main decking it. Jeez, that is a late Kurd Chieftain. I got to take the Tinkerer. We don't even have artifacts for it, but 2/3s are just sort of a hot commodity. Forge Devil and Kurd Chieftain and Hunt the Weak. That is, and there's just so much good late red and green in here. I'm very surprised. Nothing on color for us. Jeez, this has been kind of a rough pack. None of these cards really matter. I guess Solemn Offering can be annoying if I have something. All right, Willforge Golem. There we go. That's another great finisher. Works excellent with our Coral Barriers. That's a great late pickup. I think I'm going to hate the Denizen just because sometimes you can get blown out by the aggressive decks, so let's hate that strategy a little bit. None of these cards matter. I guess Missionaries may be the most playable. Blastfire Bolt, it's definitely playable. Okay, so you could probably splash that too if I find the Evolving Wilds for the mountain so I can make the Glacial Crashers a little bit better. But we'll see. We'll see if I have to do that. We are on pack 3 here shortly. And I'm going to have to figure that out. So still a little bit short on playables. We're well positioned though. We are in a good position to really kind of lock up this deck. Currently our finishers are Vamp and Golem. I'd like to not have to run Soft Shade, but it really depends on how this pack 3 pans out. We possibly have to play this dude as another finisher. Depends. Alright, Carrion Crow. Pretty much always like this dude since he flies. Works well with the Merc Lurker. Not really a military intelligence deck. Aeronaut Tinkerer is another good blocker. But I think I like having the actual flyer. He's not good defensively, but since we have triple Coral Barrier, I think this is a deck that can really take advantage of flyers. I mean, Endless Obedience is good because you can pull it from any graveyard, but if you look at our main removal, it's just a couple Covenant of Blood, so we're going to have to do like trades basically to really take advantage of Endless Obedience if we ever want to hope to get a fatty out of it. Um, yeah, I think it's a pretty easy carrion crow for us. Just get a flyer. Blood Host is good too. But, yeah, cool with the crow. Okay, so we've got some actual options here. We can actually take the meteorite, but I think I'd prefer the typhoid rats. Peel from Reality is fine too, but I think I actually want the cheap dude. This isn't a Welkin turn deck. Welkin turn decks to me are hyper aggressive, and we are absolutely not that. So I'd much rather have the typhoid rats than the Welkin turn, despite him being a flyer. Peel from Reality is not bad either. I like the Sign in Blood, but I think we're just taking rats. Get some more early game. That convokes for us. It's very valuable. There's a Flesh to Dust, so pretty happily taking that. Get some more hard removal in here. I'd like a Fester Gloom. It'd be nice if we could table it, but I'm not holding out hope. Very good green cards in here. It does appear that green was open, but obviously a little bit too late to switch at this point. We're pretty well dedicated to our blue-black. And it looks like we're getting cut, but I think what's okay is we still have an appropriate number of finishers. It's short, I'll grant you that, but our plan to get to late game is actually pretty good. The Path Mage 2 is another way to just, if you survive long enough, you can start, on a stalled board state with your coral barriers. You can start digging in there. Crow number 2 seems fine. Get another dude. Black Cat would be playable in here too. But the Crow flies, and even though we don't have, too much early game, I'm still fine with Crow. I think Coral Barrier does a real good job of putting you right back in it. If they have a nice turn 1 creature, turn 2 creature, Coral Barrier is just an excellent way to slow that down, and having 3 of them is pretty consistent. So we only need 3 more playable cards in here to really turn this deck on. Military Intelligence is cool and all, but not really what I'm looking for. Let's take the Divination. We don't have any card draw, so we are 3-drop heavy. I'll grant you that. I think 3-drop heavy is okay. 4-drop heavy is where it really starts to get sketchy. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been this 3-drop heavy. That's pretty crazy. All right, third Carrion Crow. It's a pretty welcome sight, actually. 3 Coral Barriers, 3 Carrion Crows. It's not bad. Sliver Hive, but no slivers in decks, so not going to be able to get any value off of that. This doesn't look bad. Despite having, 10 3-drops? Yeah, that was a lot. Fourth of our deck is 3 mana. That's not a big deal, by the way. And actually, having the Glacial Crashers out of sideboard, it will be nice against the aggressive decks. I may actually want the Willforged Golem over the second Shadowcloak Vamp, and maybe you're wondering why, but because we have the 3 Coral Barriers, there's a very good chance you can just slam a turn 4 Willforged Golem. Yeah, a Shadowcloak Vamp is fine too, and it can fly, but I like the Golem more. It blocks the evasive guys in this format. We already have an Eternal Thirst. I never got an Ensoul Artifact. I think we'll just hate a Ephemeral Shields because it's good. I'd still like to cut Zoffshade if possible, but I'm not sure if we're going to get that luxury. Blood Host, another fine 5-drop. Endless Obedience, but we have 1 Flesh of Dust, 2 Covenant of Bloods as our total amount of removal. I just feel like it's going to be difficult to play it, but maybe I should give it a try. I can also do Sign in Blood, which might be the wiser choice. Because we don't have that many other ways to hurt ourselves, and we really don't have that much going on early game. So I think I'm going to take the Sign in Blood and cut the Zoffshade. Because I don't really like Zoffshade all that much in here. Wow, Sign in Blood number 2. Actually, I think we'll take Peel from Reality, get some more. Peel from Reality is just one of the most excellent cards with Coral Barrier. Do we have any other? And it's fine with Gravedigger, very excellent there too. Yeah, Peel from Reality looks fantastic in here. I think our next cut is a, I don't know, I was going to say a 3-drop, but maybe we can't. Maybe we cut the Void Snare for the Peel from Reality. I'd rather run Peel than Void Snare, and then we can sideboard into Void Snare if I need it. All right, tabling the Fester Gloom. We got to take that here. We need the out against Triplicate Spirits out of sideboard. So, got to take that over the Crippling Blight and other dude. All right, we'll just hate a Living Totem here. I don't need a second Fugitive Wizard out of sideboard. Chrono Stutter, I guess, whatever. Mind Rot, okay. Alright, so ended up with a good deck. I think we're just going to hide the Void Snare and run it like this. We do have a ton of 3-drops, I admit, but I still think that's okay. I could also cut the Divination, but running a Sign in Blood and Divination is probably fine. Getting some card draw in there. We have plenty of creatures. We are a little bit short on removal, but let's separate stuff and kind of take a look at what we're dealing with here. So Peel from Reality, negate, not really removal, but a pretty valuable counterspell. Flesh of Dust, double Covenant of Blood is nice. Finishers are Shadowcloak Vamp, double Willforged Golem, Amphin Pathmage, 3 Crows. I like it. I like it. And now actually Tinkerer, because we've got the 2 Golems, we've got a couple ways to give him flying. That's kind of nice too. So this deck only suffers from not having a lot to do early, but there's an argument. I think there's a pretty strong argument actually for cutting the Divination main deck and running the Void Snare. The only reason being because we really need more stuff to do if we're getting like slam dunked early. You know, it's nice to, sometimes we're just going to need to buy time, I think, which makes the Void Snare useful. And we've just already got so much going on at 3-drops. I think Divination could be, I don't know, unnecessary. It's just nice to be able to Void Snare if they're doing something like an Infernal Fist on turn 2, you know, on their Foundry Street Denizen or something crazy like that. It's just nice to have a easy out against stuff like that, or an easy out against tokens. Just to buy yourself some time at a cheap cost. I mean, it is actually possible to Void Snare your own Gravedigger to basically make it like a super expensive Raise Dead or something. But I guess I don't know what I would want to Raise Dead exactly. We have the double Glacial Crashes out of sideboard, which I think if we play against red, I'm probably okay with going into that plan. Couple of them, maybe. Maybe I'd rather run the Divination over the Sign in Blood, but I guess Sign in Blood you can cast on. Not only can you cast it on turn 2, but you can also cast it on your opponent to finish them off if they're at like 2 life or something. I've seen it. I've done it. It can happen. So, yeah, it was Void Snare versus Divination. I think I am going to take the Void Snare. If someone gets a quick start on me, I want to be able to bounce. And sometimes you're just in a board state where it's like, I need to just get past this one guy. Oh, okay, Void Snare, get rid of it. Attack in. It can be useful. And because we're a little bit short on removal, I think it's not a bad idea to try and include Void Snare in here. There are some good auras in this format. So yeah, we're going to run it like this. Very 3-drop heavy, which could be an issue, but I guess we'll sort of have to see. And we're more black than blue. What do they say? What do they say? 10-7? No, I don't think we want that. Let's do 9-8. I mean, yeah, we want the double black on turn 2, but you don't have to play Sign in Blood on turn 2. Okay. Let's group up again. So, this deck looks good. I like it. I like it. Not terribly exciting. I think this deck suffers from no big bombs. So, that is an issue. I'm trying to think of our most realistic ways of winning. I think this deck is going to have some issues. Only because it doesn't have anything that just like comes in. It's like, oh, they got to answer that or I'm going to win, you know? I mean, the closest card to that in the deck is probably Amphin Pathmage, where it's like, oh, we're on a stalled board state, so I can make these guys unblockable and just beat you now. So that is an issue. We really didn't get any cheap 1 and 2 drop creatures, which is also an issue. But once again, the coral barriers are just excellent at buying time. And getting an evasive little 1/1 can be useful against other blue decks. So I think we're going to run it like this. It's tough to evaluate this deck. I think it's actually a little bit lower than I care to admit. It's probably like a 5.5 out of 10 or something like that. Mostly because it's got a pretty low amount of removal. Not like low, but for blue-black, I consider it a pretty low amount of removal. And then our finishers are just a little bit lackluster. Shadowcloak Vamp, a couple Willforged Golems, a guy that makes stuff unblockable. Some Crows. I think it just could have used some more. But that's okay. Still going to run it like this, and we'll see how it does. So I'll see you round 1.